probably you all know Antti Tahvanainen. For me, it was a huge pleasure to have such a driving force together here with Peter to take our idea to the level that we have today. So thanks so much, Antti, for all your passion and your team to make that happen. Thanks. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. All right. So, all the jargon that you just heard will all be explained in the process of the day. You will hear about multi-asset renewal funds, how it all came together here in Helsinki in collaboration with a lot of people and organizations around the globe. Chris was certainly one of the big drivers. He was the connector of dots, helped us with getting feedback from practitioners and so forth. But before we go into the world of finance, let me take a step back. We have a lot of people around who are interested in also empirical findings about the Finnish cleantech sector as such. Peter Adrians will then later in the day then dig more into financial instruments like the multi-asset renewal fund. But yes, so the last 2.5 years have been one wonderful, joyful ride. We started off in 2014, early 2014, with premises that looked quite dire. We all know that even today, Finland is in need of industrial renewal. We are not producing what the world wants from us. We are still stuck with our investment grade goods. We're missing out on the growth of consumer markets around the world. But we're not the only ones. There are other countries that face exactly the same situation. Take Germany. Their reason is more a political one. They decided to let go of nuclear power and looking at restructuring the entire energy industry to incorporate more alternative energy production sources. So they are looking at industrial renewal very seriously. China is another example, yet for a completely different reason. Theirs is more an economic development reason, a demographics reason. Salaries have risen on the East Coast by 20% annually in the past 10 years, and they've basically priced themselves out of the cheap production mode of the economy. So they have to restructure the economy to be able to switch from pure production to innovation-based growth. To all of you who are present here today, I mean, it's pretty clear that cleantech has been hailed as one possible savior that will bring renewal, bring us back on track, on a growth track. And what we embarked on was the assessment of cleantech. We wanted to know how competitive are Finnish cleantech companies in these rising growth markets, these greening economies. How much of the value that these companies are creating are they also capturing themselves? How much of that value is forfeit and goes to, say, global partners? Do they have the assets? Do they have the capabilities, the human capital to really compete in these greening, growing markets? And the results of the competitiveness analysis in particular is something that I will talk in the next 20 minutes about. Our second mission was then to also look at how investable these companies are from the perspective of external investors. I will not go deeply into this because it's reserved for later in the morning. Professor Adrians will walk you through our results regarding the investment grade of Finnish cleantech companies. So, if you want to assess the competitiveness of a sector, you first have to understand what this sector is all about. What is cleantech? I mean, it is a buzzword. It's been declared dead at least twice. I think the last time was in 2010. Big news in the Economist saying cleantech is dead. And was mostly because investors, early stage investors who went in the early 2000s to put their money into cleantech, which then was very much about building up infrastructure, capital intensive businesses, burned their hands pretty badly. They lost a lot of money. Pulled out, and cleantech was declared dead. Now we all know that today cleantech is back on the agenda, bigger than ever, and people have learned. It's also, as we will shortly hear, not about capital intensity anymore. It's everything but. Some people talk even about clean web instead of clean tech. So it's all digital, data-based. But yes, so we went in, tried to understand what clean tech is. A lot of buzz around it, millions of different definitions. So I won't go into that. If people are interested in definitions, the book features a few. We understood early from the get-go that it's not a technology. It is not a specific industry. It is not a certain business model. It is first and foremost thematic. Here are a few examples. And these are the thematics that we specifically dug into in this project. We analyzed the smart grid sector. We analyzed the smart mobility sector or smart cities. And then finally, green chemistry. The bioeconomy relates to this issue. So we had to look at a fairly fuzzy amoeba when we attacked the problem. We went thematic by thematic and wanted to see what does this really look like in terms of economic structures. And let me cut directly to the chase. This is what clean tech looks like from an industry structure point of view, at least. It is fuzzy, it is messy, but there are ways to really capture it. So this is all based on Bloomberg data. It is factual data. What you see here are nodes, these circles that are then connected with what we call edges. They represent industry sectors, different industry sectors. And the edges themselves are financial transactions between companies in these sectors. So following deals between companies, you're actually able to in a fact-based manner, map and define what clean tech ecosystems look like. Now we call this a ball of yarn. It doesn't make much sense. I mean, very little information to extract, so let me abstract away from this. This is sort of an overlay on top of it, a little abstraction of the same picture. And let me give you a very brief overview of what ecosystems, from an economic perspective, how they look like, how they function. We have two types of industrial sectors here. In the periphery, in red, you have industry sectors that we call anchor industries. Now, anchor industries provide one extremely important asset to the entire ecosystem. That's mostly infrastructure. This is your clean tech 1.0 companies. You have power utilities on the one hand, you have electrical equipment manufacturers, you have industrial conglomerates, that's your Siemenses and Bosches and ABBs of the world. You have the telecommunications sector, electrical components and equipment manufacturers. These are your traditional industry sectors that are sitting and maintaining infrastructure necessary to run the ecosystem. Power utilities maintain power grids, transmission lines, also the power production facilities themselves, extremely capital-intensive businesses. Telecommunications operators, they are sitting on top of the telco grids, data moves, right? And finally, you need the machinery and the electronics to do that, and you have equipment manufacturers for that. Now, the other side of the coin is, yes, they are important, but when you look at the growth of the ecosystem and the role these guys play in, and this is, by the way, the smart grids industry that you see, is that they are not really connected yet. So this ball of yarn that you saw, the connectivity that doesn't come from the anchor industries. They are still somewhat isolated in their conventional value chains that have been built up over the years, supplying the same kind of customers, buying from the same kind of suppliers for cost optimization purposes, to compete on price. And so for a smart grid ecosystem to emerge, you need this cross-industrial value chain structuring, and that is brought in by what we call catalyst industries. These are the blue dots here in the picture. If you look closely, you see that most of them are all about software and data. System software, application software, internet software, semiconductors, which is another IT sector, just hardware. You have data processing, extremely important. So the growth sectors in today's clean tech economies are not the heavy hitters of the industry. It's the agile, digital-based businesses that not only provide services, digital services on top of incumbent infrastructure, but also provide for the most growth, most job creation. I'll come to this topic later. They are the bridges that built the new value chains in these emerging ecosystems. This is what it looks like on the company level. We still stick with the same example, smart grids. You have companies from a myriad of different industries. As said, you have telecommunications companies here, you have your hardware developers, you have Enernoc as one of the world's biggest data analytics companies. They provide profiles of electricity customers and sell those then back to the power utilities so they can optimize their own production and so forth and so forth. It is really cross-industrial. We cannot think in terms of our incumbent industry boundaries anymore. Now, as said, we looked at 3 different thematics. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you a few very generic results on our analysis on these clusters. I'm not going to go ecosystem by ecosystem, but sort of look at the Finnish clean tech sector as a whole. We have a lot of water and wastewater management companies. By the number of companies, they are the biggest single category of companies. If you were to bundle all alternative energy, solar, wind, and so forth, the alternative energy sector would be the second biggest clean tech sector in Finland. Now, those are entirely different businesses, and for that reason, we kept them separate. Now, a number of companies tells you something, but if you really want to know who contributes to the growth of our GDP, then you have to look at value added, as the economists do. And when you do that, you see that smart grid and energy efficiency, which are very, very tightly related to each other, make out the bulk of value added in the country. So Finnish clean tech is rather energy oriented, which is good. It is a very important sector and it's growing globally. We need to solve these problems, and I think it's good news. But if you look at profitability of the sector, and here it's split by company size. You have micro companies on the left and small and medium-sized companies, large companies, finally the giants. We have a problem with profitability. If you look at operating margins and profit margins, for the micro companies it looks horrendous, but it's sort of expected. These are many times pre-revenue, early-stage startups, and they feed off external investments. They don't even have to show profit yet necessarily. But if you look at SMEs, these are not young companies. These can be, really, I'd say, old companies, but established businesses. Operating margins of -7%, profit margins of -10 on average, and we have windsurfed this, so there are no outliers impacting this result. It looks really disconcerting. If you look at ecosystem that you just saw, I just told you that SMEs, small and medium-sized, nimble companies, are the ones who are building the new value chains, connecting incumbent industries with each other. If this company base isn't on a healthy basis, fast-growing competitive ecosystems are unfathomable. It's quite difficult to see why. We couldn't come up with a reason for why profitability isn't exactly on par with what you would want to see. But it is certainly a finding that we need to dig deeper into. Intellectual property, more nice to know information. As said, energy efficiency ranks highest in terms of number of patents, also patents per company. So a lot of stuff's happening there. I wouldn't put too much emphasis on this graph because patent practices differ rather strongly between sectors. So it might just be that energy efficiency in and by itself is one of those sectors that produce a lot of IP. But one I would say key empirical findings was that the Finnish clean tech sector is extremely manufacturing centric, engineering and manufacturing centric. These are companies that produce something, hardware, not electronics hardware, but hardware. 36% of all Finnish clean tech companies in Finland operate in the manufacturing sector. If you look at the Finnish industry in general, on average, it's just 7%. So clean tech in Finland is more manufacturing-centric than the entire industry on average. If you look at the different metric revenue, same story. In blue, you see that in the clean tech sector, you have a lot more revenue generation from manufacturing than in the Finnish industry on average. I'll come back to the implications very soon after this slide, actually. Another thing that plays, is I think tangential to this finding is that if you look at, this is patents in different categories, you see that patenting in the Finnish clean tech sector is heavily mechanical engineering driven. You have process engineering patents, electrical engineering patents. If you look at consumer goods and civil engineering, it comes in last. We are not consumer oriented, not at all. Maria Ritola, who's present here today, will talk more about nimble, service-based consumer startups, but the picture overall doesn't look very promising. Now, the problem with that is, in the gold rush era of digitalization, a manufacturing-centric business model can very easily become the ball and chain to economic growth of these ecosystems. Consumer markets are booming right now. Take Uber, Airbnb, all those. They're digital-based, nimble companies aimed for the consumer. We're still stuck with our investment goods. In clean tech, as I said, the trend is towards a clean web, and I think it is time to roll up our sleeves and think how to promote nimble, digital-based startups in the country, and help incumbents to sort of transform their businesses into a digital mode too. Let's jump topics. Another specialty topic, I'd say. I don't know how much time do I have? 10 minutes. Wonderful. Thank you. The bioeconomy. Obviously, we were intrigued by the concept, not just because the government has it on its agenda today. A lot of information, even before that official statement by the government, was out there. A lot of initiatives by the ministries and so forth. And that's not just Finland. It's elsewhere too. This is a view pulled from bioeconomy.fi, which is a government-based website, how they perceive what the bioeconomy is. I won't go too deeply into this. You probably know it better than I do. But the idea is to circulate biomass-based inputs and outputs between sectors and across very diverse sectors build kind of new recyclable value chains. Circular economy, all of that is part of this concept. Now, we wanted to know, is this for real today? So we put it through the same analysis as for example, the smart grid industry. You saw the ball of yarn. So we did that exercise for the bioeconomy. Left-hand side, smart grid. Right-hand side, the bioeconomy. Close to no connections. The ecosystem isn't existing yet, as in, if you look at real deals between companies. There is no circularity there. It's quite weak yet. I'll give you an upfront insight. So if you think about the bioeconomy as a sort of a spearhead project, let's not expect short-term growth. It will not be the solution for the current predicament of our economy. It will come, but it is a long-term play, and I think we are fairly well positioned to play that game. It's just we have to get our expectations right in that regard. We looked at the bioeconomy more specifically. We dug down deeper. We looked at green chemistry. I mean, we have a lot of forestry here, pulp, and so forth. We want to do something with it. So the picture looks a little more promising already. We have a structure in place, but if you look closer at that structure, you will very fast see that what you're looking at is basically the old school petrochemical, chemical, household products, paper industry value chain. That's how the industry has worked for eons. Petrochemicals are processed by the chemical industry, turned into personal products, household products, industrial chemical products, detergents and such. And there's really nothing new about this. So also here, the structures are not really telling about a completely new emerging ecosystem that has that's already there. However, we saw some incipient, weak signals of a new type of value structure here between our biomass-producing sectors and the chemical industry via a process industry called commodity chemicals. They turn biomass into readily usable inputs for the chemical industry based on biomass. Very, very weak links yet. It's incipient. It's coming. But again, not a short-term play. It's a long-term play. And for that to really happen, we think something needs to be done about the vested interests between petrochemicals and the specialty chemicals industry. They have too much at stake to just break up this connection. And so the EU REACH program, for example, is a very good example of how governments can help break that link. We think intervention in this case is for the good. If we want this incipient, sustainable connection between biomass and chemicals to emerge. Now, let's take a step back. I think I have a couple of minutes more. Sort of as a summary. If you look at enterprises or large incumbent companies in these different clean tech sectors, we found out they are very strongly positioned in those ecosystems. They have the skills, they have the right kind of human capital, they have good management teams, excellent advisory boards, they have all the IP they need, they have the networks to pull off the business. It's all in place. They potentially are extremely capable of extracting value out of these ecosystems. However, the problem is they are trying to go into these ecosystems based on their conventional business models. Telcos are going in with same flat rate connectivity proposition, as in data by the minute or euros per megabyte. It's commodity. There are no value-added services on top of that. Power utilities are selling, well, power, kilowatt by the hour. Their business models aren't agile. They are highly capital intensive. They can't double, say, revenue without investing heavily into new kind of production facilities, transmission lines, and so forth. They're not nimble. So the potential that's there will not be captured by our incumbents unless something drastic happens in terms of business modeling. Well, there are many different ways of doing it. I won't go deeper into that. Partnering with small and medium-sized companies, obviously one possibility. Opening up your business as a platform to nimble digital-based companies who then sort of run their business on the incumbent's platform, who in return provides direct access to an existing clientele and provides all sorts of development kits and these kind of. Apple has been pretty good at this. So they run a platform business model. They don't even try to compete with the nimble application developers and so forth. Maybe that's one way for our incumbents to get into the game. Startups, on the other hand, they do have the scalable, nimble business models. They use digital platforms to enter markets. For them, it doesn't matter whether they sell 100,000 units or 100 million units. The cost to them, the marginal costs are the same. They have figured out how to develop scalable services on top of the existing infrastructure. Now, their problem is lack of market access. They can't invest into the infrastructure that is needed to roll out their proposition, so they have to rely on somebody else's proposition. There's no direct path to the market. And that stifles growth. Now, they can use partnering strategies as well, use digital market platforms, generic ones that are existing, or then just disrupt the businesses of incumbents one function at a time. So this is a nice picture of Honeywell and how Honeywell's different business propositions and lines of business are just being plucked apart by a hungry swarm of piranhas called startups, one function at a time. So this is another strategy for startups. Last 3 slides. What can we do about this? So incumbents lack the business models, the nimbleness. Startups lack market access. They both would highly appreciate partnerships with each other, at least in the first stage, before they then at some point turn into competitors. But for now, we need partnerships. And I think with Nina Harjula here present today, we have an excellent example of existing models, how to do this on a scalable level. Nordic Innovation Accelerator brings together startups and large incumbents around the globe to start collaborating with each other and enjoy each other's complementary assets. We have Vertical Accelerator in the health tech sphere doing exactly the same. So we're seeing successful models already being applied. I say, let's do more of it. Ecosystem pilots. Now, pilots have usually been perceived as single sort of prototype tryouts in the field, be that a factory at a time and so forth. We should look at what Åland is doing now with their smart grid ecosystem. So their pilot basically hugs the entire ecosystem. All the functionalities of a working ecosystem are there, present in small scale, but that is something that brings together consortia that are the seedlings of emerging startups, ecosystems. So ecosystem-wide piloting, that's what I think is one good solution to promote the emergence of these ecosystems. And finally, everything that we want to call smart today doesn't work quite yet because all the systems of the different stakeholders that are in place, you remember the map of these different companies that are playing in the game, their systems are completely interoperable today. There is no interoperability. Data doesn't flow. I mean, data flows, yes, but the content that the data represents can't be read between the participants. So that's something governments can do, and it's been proven to be a successful strategy in the past. They can help in setting up standards that industries must adhere to. Let's make standards for interoperability between systems of systems, so that whoever enters the ecosystem has a clear rule card in his hands and knows what standards that company needs to adhere to, so that it can sort of be a plug and play game within the ecosystem. So thank you from my side for listening. I hope we got some interesting insights for you, and we have a coffee break at 10 o'clock roughly, so we can then talk more about if you have any questions. But with these words, I say thank you and welcome Chris back on stage again. He will be moderating our panel that starts immediately, right? Thank you.